Hi everyone, welcome to the Abalone and wine tasting experience. We'd like to tell you a little bit about our two companies and introduce what we're offering to you. So my name is Chris Thomas and I'm the Chief Winemaker and Managing Director of DOWIE Wines. DOWIE Wines is based in McLaren Vale and we are a story of two terroirs and time and McLaren Vale experience of the best of the Australian lifestyle. We're a genuine grower producer who focuses on giving a sense of that place in every glass of wine, so you can taste the terroirs of DOWIE in a bottle of wine. And we've teamed up with Eyrewoolf, so I'd love Tobin to give a bit of an introduction about what they're about.
Thanks Chris, my name's Tobin Woolford and I'm Managing Director and Diver of Eyrewoolf Abalone. Our story started when my family purchased an island off the Eyre Peninsula, Flinders Island in South Australia. We were the sole occupants of the island. This substantiated our love for fresh seafood straight from the ocean. And this is why we're bringing this today, and what we want to share with everybody is the experience that we grew up with.
Fantastic. We're really excited to be teaming up with Tobin and Eyrewoolf. We, being experienced the best of Australian lifestyle, we really wanted to partner with someone that was a passionate producer that puts everything into putting forth a genuine product. And we think abalone and wine matching is the best of the Australian lifestyle, and we're really excited to take you through that experience today. So I think the most important first step of an abalone and wine tasting is to pour yourself a glass of wine. So I'd pour yourself a glass of rosé, and while you're having a little smell and taste of that, Tobin can tell us all about the abalone.
Thanks Chris. So today we've got our Eyrewoolf Abalone canned additive-free abalone. We just started producing this, and all it contains is abalone, salt and water, so it's fresh straight from the ocean. So here's one we've opened earlier, and you can smell that fresh umami flavour straight from the can.
Amazing.
We've already drained the can, and you can reserve that liquid if you're using that in any sort of broth or anything to cook abalone in different forms, but today we'll be using it sashimi or seared. So for today's exercise you'll need a hot plate, a frying pan, it's a knife for slicing the abalone, tongs. We're going to serve the abalone in one of our shells, and we also have toothpicks, or you can use your fingers. So we've drained the liquid of this abalone, which you can reserve for using it in broths or braising the abalone. So here we'll slice it to about 3 to 5 millimeters thick.
So Tobin, I was just wondering, when you're diving, because you said you actually dive yourself to catch the abalone.
Yeah, that's right.
How long do you spend under the water?
We can spend, it depends on the depth, but we spend average around 5 hours a day, up to 7 or 8 hours at times.
Yeah, wow. And I'm always curious. I mean, I've got to watch out for the snakes when I'm wandering around the vineyards, but I think I'd rather wander across a snake than one of those great whites that you've got out there on. How many sharks have you seen in your time diving?
So I've been diving for over 20 years now. I've probably only seen around 8, which is probably not a bad record, but I'd say more have probably seen me.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought you'd know them all on a first name basis and be their best mates, but yeah, braver man than me, that's for sure. So.
No, we actually use what some people call a cage, but we prefer to call it an underwater vehicle. But it does give you a bit more protection, but we always feel pretty safe underwater. It's a big ocean out there. So this is the sliced abalone. So we've sliced it lengthways to about 3 to 5 millimeters thick, and we'll slice again across the diameter, the smaller diameter, just so we can have more for the tasting. And we'll separate these half for sashimi, half for searing. Okay, so we've got our sashimi now in this shell, and we're going to sear the other half. So today we've got rice bran oil. I like to use rice bran oil because of the high flash point. It gets it nice and hot. Abalone is one of those seafoods that you either cook it for a really long time, nice and slow, or cook it hot and fast. So once we've got a bit of smoke in the pan, we'll place these in, and we'll only sear them, flash fry them for 5 to 10 seconds. All they need to be is warmed up.
So when I've had abalone before, I tend to have it in soups with things like mushroom, and they cook it for a long time, slowly, you're saying, and then otherwise if you're going to cook in the pan, just in and out.
In and out, yeah. Either really long and hot, or fast and hot, or long and slow. Yeah, and yeah, make mention of cooking it with a mushroom. That's a great comment you made there, because abalone is a really earthy type of seafood. It's not got a fishy flavour. Needs to be flipped a few times just so it doesn't burn on there, but it gets that nice seared smell, seared flavour. You've got all the fleas going your way. You get all
the aromas coming out of the pan are just fantastic.
That's about all it needs, just to be warmed up.
Yeah, cool. Turn that off. Get rid of that fan noise. Oh, thank you. Stone.
And taste those, so it's sweet and smoky like fried scallop and pork. It's with a little bit of a lingering buttery finish.
Yeah. I love what it's done to it compared to the sashimi we tried before. It's completely changed it, and they're both amazing, just in different ways.
Yeah, the different ways you can cook abalone brings out different flavours. It's a very unique product.
Beautiful, and I think that's what we're going to explore with you next, is when we talk about the wines and the abalone together, is which ones match best with the different sorts of abalone preparation.
Probably not that long. Right, ready to go.
Okay, we've got our two prepared abalone here. We've got the sashimi style, which we sliced up earlier. We've also got the seared, which we just cooked up earlier. And we've got three DOWIE wines that we've previously selected that match well beautifully with this abalone.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible task, Tobin, to catch up with you and try your lovely abalone and select some wines. So where we landed in terms of the wine selection to match with the abalone was we thought that the three most interesting wines that matched to give you an interesting experience between the wine tasting and the abalone tasting was the DOOLE Vineyard Rosé, which is a Grenache Vermentino blend, lovely sort of bright fruit. Our DOWIE Vineyard Chardonnay, which is a crisp and clean Chardonnay, but still a little bit richer. And then our Cali Road Shiraz, which is a more verbose sort of red wine, 2 years in barrel and then 2 years in bottle prior to release.
So why are you decanting the Cali Road, Chris?
As I said, this wine spent a couple of years in aging in oak barrels and then 2 years in the bottle. And what I like to do, particularly with the red wines, is to allow them to breathe and sort of open up again. They're a bit of a living creature, I suppose, in the bottle, and just allowing them to have the opportunity to breathe a bit of air in, and it brings out more of the fruit in the wine and more of the sort of body of the wine.
Yeah, nice.
And these decanters are great. You can double decant them quite quickly before a dinner party, and abalone tasting exercise, and you don't lose track of which wine's in the bottle.
Excellent.
So Tobin, let me top you up with a bit more rosé. This is off of our DOOLE vineyard, which is where we're sitting at the moment in the DOWIE DOOLE tasting pod. And this particular vineyard is only 3.3 kilometres from the sea. It's made from a blend of Grenache and Vermentino. So Grenache gives you those sort of lovely strawberries, bored lolly sort of characters. It tastes sweet on the palate, even though the wine's completely dry, and that's from the Vermentino that gives it this beautiful sort of saline edge to it, and it really suits this Mediterranean climate and its proximity to west, to the ocean, only 3.3 k's. It's beautiful where we are at the moment. As you can see, sun setting over the vineyard, and some rosé in our glass to enjoy with the abalone.
Yeah, so I reckon we'll give it a go with the sashimi style abalone to start. Nice big piece.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that you can really taste the sort of the green seaweed, sweet fresh oyster. It's really salty oceanic flavours in the sashimi style. It matches well.
No, it's beautiful. And I think when we went through and did this tasting, selecting the wines, you and I both really resonated to the sashimi, particularly with the rosé, and it goes quite well with the seared. But as you said, I love that sort of saline, sort of oyster shell sort of character that comes through on the palate with the sashimi, and I think that resonates really well with that little bit of Vermentino and the rosé, and they sort of match beautifully.
And try some of the seared with it.
Yeah, I'd love to. And again, I think that actually works quite well as well. That's like butteriness that you're talking about that comes through in the seared, with the richness of the Grenache in the rosé. It's quite a nice match. I think I prefer out of these two. For me, the sashimi is probably the pick of the two, but
That's
really interesting.
That smoky flavour that comes through in there as well. Does go well with the Grenache notes and the
I think so. And I think that's what, for me, that's what's really exciting and interesting about doing this exercise is there's different characters in the wine that match the different characters of the two different types of preparation with the Abalone.
So what wine have we got now, Chris?
So Tobin, next we've got our DOWIE Vineyard Chardonnay from the cool sandy slopes of Blewett Springs. So this is on the very eastern side of McLaren Bar, bordering the Adelaide Hills. It's much higher in elevation, very sandy soils. But what's amazing about this particular site is we get these lovely cold nights that really suit Chardonnay, because with Chardonnay we try and look for those white stone fruits, peaches and pears, a little bit richer than something like a Sauvignon Blanc. And what happens at night time, it stops the acidity from deteriorating. So you've got that more verbose fruit coming through on the palate, but then this lovely, clean, crisp finish to the wine. And then we partially ferment it in oak barrels, so that adds a bit more richness, those sort of buttery flavours. So I suspect this, when we tried this before, it was quite versatile between the two preparations of the Abalone. I think that's because that sort of beautiful white stone fruit acidity goes really well with the sashimi. Then the flavours from the oak barrels, the sort of slightly charred oak notes, the butteriness goes really well with the seared. So I think it should, from memory, pair quite well, the two.
Yeah, I agree. I can taste the sashimi style there, and I can taste that oceanic flavours drawing it out. Almost, there is a bit of buttery finish in that as well. Be interested to see how it goes with the seared.
I know it's really well. And one of the characteristics that winemakers tend to talk about with Chardonnay sometimes is weighing on slate. That sort of slightly saline sort of note that comes through in the end, and I think that's worked really well with the seared. And you also get a slight flintiness with the Chardonnay that, which is partly from the barrel fermentation. I think that goes really well with it.
Yeah, the smoky flavours do go well with it. Just a different buttery finish. Both of them have that smooth finish. Both the sashimi style and the seared, but it's the Chardonnay brings both of the, gives a different buttery finish. One's a bit more salty, one's a bit more smoky.
It's interesting how they both bring out different characters in the wine, and it's great to try one, then the Abalone, and then one, then the other. See what comes out. But I think a great match across the two.
It is, yeah, really.
So Tobin, next I've got for us to taste with the Abalone our 2018 Cali Road Shiraz. So California Road runs along this vineyard, a DOOLE vineyard, only 3.3 kilometres from the ocean. As I said before, it's a lovely Mediterranean site, and this is a very verbose Shiraz. That sort of Mediterranean climate, more even day-night temperature, allows the fruit to get beautiful and ripe. But it's also being very ancient geology here, going back 60 million years of age, and only 3.3 kilometres from the ocean. It's got a beautiful sort of fine acidity that comes through at the end. So when we tasted this before, and I think what we'll see again today, is that you get the beautiful, the slight sort of caramel type notes really matches with the vanilla and sort of nutmeg flavours from the oak, and the body of the Shiraz goes well with the seared, and then that sort of beautiful acid line should go well with the sashimi one at the end. So yeah,
I can definitely taste it with the seared. The smoky flavours go really well with it.
It almost brings out more of that smokiness in the wine than you usually see. It's one of the things I love about food and wine matching is sometimes you don't see something in a wine like pepper and Shiraz, and then you have peppery food with the wine, and it emphasises those characteristics.
I prefer it with the seared, but sashimi still got that salty flavour. It cleanses it a little bit, but it's definitely the seared for me in that one. It's more full-bodied, and you can taste the difference.
Absolutely, and it's definitely my preference as well, but it's interesting how that cleanses your palate as well after the wine, almost refreshes it again. You go back for your next taste of wine, I think, and see something different. I think that's part of this whole exercise, though, is one of the really enjoyable things about amazing seafood like this and wine, is you get to experiment and play with what works and doesn't work. And wine's like fashion, food's like fashion. We don't all wear the same clothes, we don't like the same things. So everyone's going to have their own personal sort of match that would work really, really well. Oh,
it's a great experience to be able to do this. It's to taste the different flavours and how they come out, the abalone and the wines. It's been a great day.
It's a lot of fun. I have to do it again sometime. But anyway, cheers. Thanks, Tobin.